Go, Fritz.
The Bears are who we thought they were.
The Bears. The Bears.
I am the great Cornholio.
We'll see what happens.
Playoffs?
See, Sean McDonough, Jay Billis. Goats!
Can you play a song? Something cool. Put my mic on!
I'm calling both games.
Oh, baby!
Are you serious?
Goes down the field for Smith.
Oh, he got it!
Seattle. We're getting ready for Cincinnati.
Moving on to the college football playoff. If you live under a rock, the college football playoff rankings look a little bit like this. Fourth seed is Cincinnati, so it is the first time in college football playoff history that a group of 5 team gets into the Final Four. They'll be facing off against number 1 Alabama, and then you have third-ranked Georgia playing second-ranked Michigan. So, to be honest with you, I don't really have a big issue with this field of 4 teams. You know, in years prior, I had an issue with, what teams got in, what teams didn't. Last year I came out with a video that I said, I'm bored of the college football playoff because it's the same teams every year. And, well, hey, we got, 2 different teams, right? Georgia hasn't played in it that often. So, I guess you could say that, that they were a different team as well. But, you got two teams that I don't think have ever been in it. I know one of them has never been in it, but I don't think Michigan's ever been in it. But I don't have any issue. You look at the next 2 teams out or whatever, the first 2 out or whatever. It was Notre Dame was 5th, and then Ohio State, I believe, was 6th. And I don't have an issue. Some people have said, hey, Ohio State should have been 4th or whatever. I mean, I think that losing to Oregon hurt them, right? If they were a 1-loss team, then I could see the argument of them getting in over Cincinnati. But people have said this, and it's interesting when people bring this up because it makes you think. A lot of people said, Ohio State, well, why are they so low? You match them up against Notre Dame, and, I could see them beating Notre Dame, and, and other people were like, I could see them beating Cincinnati. And I don't know what the deal with Cincinnati is. And, I've kind of been tough on these group of 5 teams in the past. But the only reason is because, they win, they play one good team, right, a year. And if they beat them, then they're like, yeah, we're the best team in the country. And then it's like, well, look at your schedule. The toughest teams you play are, Houston and SMU, right? I mean, I don't know. I just don't see it. You know what I mean? And I think it's one thing to, and I've talked about this in the past, it's one thing to play, some weak competition and then get up for a few big games every year, right? That's fine. And you win them, and that's great. But I don't know. I just don't know that it's as strong or as meaningful, I guess you could say, as if you were to do the same thing in the Big Ten, right? Or in the SEC. You take Cincinnati, put them in the Big Ten or put them in the SEC, and they do the same thing that they did, go 11-0 or 12-0 or whatever, and well, now all of a sudden Cincinnati might be the best team in the country, right? But my point is, I'm looking at Cincinnati, and I don't think they would have the same success in any of the Power 5 conferences. I just don't think they'd be undefeated. Maybe in the ACC, probably not. I don't know, and it'll be interesting to see how well they play once they go into the Big 12, because people were kind of bashing on the Big 12 before, and myself included. People said, Big 12 stinks, and it's never been good, and I was one of those people. The Big 12 this year is having had a pretty good year. Baylor was up there. Iowa State is getting good. Oklahoma State won. Oklahoma State was 2 inches away from winning the Big 12 this year. Baylor wound up winning it, I should say. And you obviously had these usual Oklahoma Sooners as well, but they'll be gone. So it's not going to be easy by any means. And I think that this game, I'm going to be really interested to see how Cincinnati does against a big time opponent. personally, I think Alabama's going to humble them, but who knows? We'll see. And it depends on what Alabama team shows up. Is it the Alabama team that nearly lost to Auburn in the Iron Bowl to their backup quarterback who couldn't walk? You know what I mean? Because the guy for the Auburn quarterback in that game, he was hurt. He was hurt bad. Like he couldn't walk. And Alabama almost lost that game. Or is it going to be the Alabama team that showed up to the SEC championship where they beat, what everybody thought was the best team in the country? And this is the thing with Alabama, right? They may not always, they may have their struggles at times, but you can always count on them to show up for the big game, right? They've never came to a big game and gotten blown out. And sure, they haven't won every college football playoff, right? They haven't won every championship, but even when they had lost to Ohio State or Clemson or whoever they lost to, they made it a game, right? They didn't get blown out. They didn't get embarrassed. And that's my point. They always show up for the big game. And that is why Nick Saban is the best coach in college football. As for Michigan, Georgia, I think it could go either way. I kind of mentioned this a little bit before, that everybody thought Georgia was like the best team in the country and that they couldn't be beat. I was one of those people. I thought Georgia was, I thought Georgia was playing a level of football that nobody could compete with. I truly did. Because, they were just embarrassing every single team that they played. Now, they may not have been playing the best teams in the country, but, Arkansas is still a top 25 team, and they shut them out, didn't they? Georgia played... again, they didn't play the best schedule. They didn't play the strongest schedule of the year, but they came in and they still crushed nearly every opponent or every win. They pretty much they ate, I guess you could say, but they come into the SEC championship and I didn't have this in the front of my mind when I was watching the SEC championship, but Kirby Smart and Georgia just hasn't had success against Alabama, right? I saw a graphic on Twitter or whatever, Instagram, I don't know what it was, but I saw a graphic and it was like all the scores between Georgia and Alabama, and Alabama won, I think, every time. And so I don't know if that's much more of a Georgia's not as good as we thought, or it's just Alabama knows how to beat Georgia. I'm not sure. But I'm beginning to think that Georgia isn't as good as everybody thought. I'm not so high on them anymore. And again, this game is similar to what I said about Alabama. This game depends on what Georgia team is going to show up. Is it the Georgia team that crushed every opponent by 30 points? Or is it going to be the one that came out and struggled against Alabama? I think Michigan, while they may not have started off the season the hottest, they're hot right now. And, hey, that's all that matters, right? You just win. As long as you win games towards the end of the season, right? As long as you get yourself to the point where you can be in big games, and then you win those big games, it doesn't matter what you did the first 4 weeks of the season. So that'll be. I think Michigan Georgia might be one of the better semifinal games we've seen in a long time. So that'll be interesting.